In this video, I'm going to be going over the answer key for worksheet number 1 and hopefully answering some of the questions that we might have before we take the test. For number 1, they say that objects A and B have identical velocities, but object A has 3 times the mass of object B. Compare the momentum of each object. Justify your answer. Pick numbers to use as examples if needed. So object A would have 3 times as much momentum if it had 3 times as much mass, but the same velocity. So for example, if I use 3 meters per second for both their velocities, object B only has 1 kilogram of mass and object A has 3 kilograms of mass, so it is 3 times more massive. It would have a momentum of 9 kilograms times meters per second, whereas object B would only have 3 kilograms times meters per second for its momentum. Number 2 is a pretty similar problem, but in this case they have identical masses, and object C has twice the velocity of object D. So compare the momentum of each object. Object C, because it would have twice as much velocity, would have twice as much mass. Pretty similar thought process to 1. I already went over number 3 when we were going through our notes, so that one you should have been good on. Number 4 is a baseball that is moving, and then it crosses the plate and strikes the catcher's mitt, and then they together kind of move backwards a little bit, and they want to know the final velocity of them together at the end. So this is an inelastic collision. They stick together at the end, right? They move together as one object at the end. The mass of object 2 times the velocity of object 2 at the beginning are both going to cancel out and just be 0 because that object just stopped at the beginning, so I got rid of that. Then I divided both sides by mass 1 plus mass 2. So the mass of object 1, just 0.15 kilograms times its velocity of 45, divided by 0.15 plus 0.25 kilograms, and you get 6.75 over 0.4, which should be around 16.88 or around roughly 17, or like 16.9. Either way that you round it is fine. Number 5, this is our only elastic collision, and this is honestly probably the most difficult problem because of that. But it's a truck that gently nudges a 1,000 kilogram parked car. The impact causes the car to start moving, and then the truck continues to move in the positive direction as well. So again, the mass times the velocity of object 2 at the beginning are equal to 0 because the object is stopped. Oh, excuse me. Stopped at the beginning. And I'm looking for the velocity of object 1 at the end. So I need to subtract mass 2 times velocity 2 final from both sides. And then once I've done that, I'm going to divide the mass of object 1 from each side, and that gives me velocity 1 final by itself. And then I plug all my numbers in. Mass 1 is 3,000, velocity 1 initial is 10, divided or subtracted by 1,000, which is the mass of object 2, and times the velocity of object 2 at the end, which is 15, and divide that by the mass of object 1, which is 3,000. You should get it's moving at 5 meters per second, which makes sense because its velocity slowed down because some of its momentum was transferred into the small car. Number 6, we are back to an inelastic collision. They stick together at the end. Again, I have one object that is at rest, so I just get rid of that from my equation, and then from there it should be pretty straightforward. We're going to divide both sides by mass 1 plus mass 2. Mass 1 is 3 kilograms times its velocity of 2 meters per second divided by their combined mass, 3 kilograms plus 1 kilogram. You get 6 divided by 4, which is 1.5 meters per second. Finally, again, we have another object where they run into each other and then they become one solid object together, or it's an inelastic collision. And we have one object that again is at rest at the beginning, Please note that they're not always going to be at rest here, but in this case, it works out. So then I get mass 1 divided by velocity 1 initial divided by, those two are multiplied. And then I divide by mass 1 plus mass 2. So I plug that into my calculator. You get 5 times 4, which is 20, divided by 5 plus 1, which is 6, and you should get 3.3 repeating. That's how fast they are going combined at the end. Please let me know if you guys have any questions on these calculations, or if you guys have any other questions before you guys take the test today. Have a good one, guys.